subject to anything.
All right, you're looking live. 2020 presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar. She's addressing Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push coalition in Chicago. She, by the way, is among the candidates very much pushing for impeachment proceedings against the President of the United States. He needs to be heard. Talk about Bob Mueller, and Bob Mueller will be heard. The special counsel expected to testify before the House Judiciary Committee and what other committee next month. It begins on July 17th. The read of what's at stake and how that will all go as Democrats particularly keep pushing this theme. Republican House Judiciary Committee member Tom McClintock with us right now. Congressman, good to have you.
Hi, Neil. Thanks for having me.
It does seem that certainly, sir, among the candidates running for president on the Democratic side, that to a man or woman, they think at the very least that there should be impeachment proceedings. Some go so far as to say he should be impeached, period. How is that going to go down when Mr. Mueller appears before your committee?
Well, what's beginning to appear out of the Mueller report, we know that it was an incredibly biased and one-sided team of investigators, many of whom had very intense partisan animosity toward Donald Trump. But what we're now starting to see is, despite that, they were completely unable to make a case legally for collusion or obstruction. So instead, they've made a political case. And let me give you some examples. Konstantin Kilimnik is cited with his interactions with Paul Manafort as someone with ties to the Russian intelligence community. What they left out of the report, but they knew, was that Kilimnik was actually a U.S. intelligence asset. I'd like to know why that was left out of the report. John Dowd has a conversation with Robert Kellner, the attorney for Michael Flynn. He is quoted in the report in terms that make it sound like he's trying to suborn perjury. They leave out of the report that portion of the conversation where Dowd makes it absolutely clear, crystal clear, that's not what he's suggesting. Why was that let out of the report? And then we have the supporting documents. I've read some of them. They are still under wraps. They're not classified, but they're among the class of the most closely guarded secrets of the federal government, which is unclassified but embarrassing. But they don't seem to support, those underlying documents don't seem to support the conclusions in the Mueller report.
So that's the way that you would go. All right, I get it. So that's the way you would go when you can have an opportunity to question Bob Mueller, who says he's going to stand by that report, the findings in that report, and not veer off that. Now, a number of your Democratic colleagues, sir, have said, well, they want to know particularly why he was not able to make a conclusion on obstruction of justice. And they want to get to the origin of that. Essentially, we're told that Mr. Mueller said, well, that's I'm putting in your hands, Congress. What do you think of that?
Well, again, I think that's more of a political than a legal argument, and that's what I certainly want to explore.
Do you think Bob Mueller then should he have done that, one way or the other, made a recommendation for or against?
Yeah, that was his job as a prosecutor. And to say, well, the president can't be prosecuted while he's in office, the president can certainly be prosecuted after he's in office. And we put an awful lot of money and time behind Robert Mueller's investigation. It was his job to make a case for prosecution if one could be made. The fact is it couldn't be made, and that's where we are.
All right. So the fact that he never intended to go that route, you think if you or your colleagues had any idea he might, and that you would have supported the investigation at all?
Well, first of all, you can't cover up a crime that never occurred, and you can't charge obstruction when the president and his campaign turned over every single document that Mueller requested.
All right, so the crime to which you refer, that there was no crime, was collusion. And if he was exonerated on that front, then you can't obstruct something that didn't happen.
Yeah, and right? Meanwhile, allegations of foreign influence on the Clinton campaign and the origins of this whole phony Steele dossier, which was the genesis of this colossal lie of collusion, were completely ignored by the Mueller team. I'd like to know why they chose that course as well.
How long are these hearings going to go on? I know Bob Mueller is a big get for the Democrats. They wanted to have him. But I'm told that these kind of things and could go on throughout the summer. What are you hearing?
Well, I think that'll depend. I think this will all blow up in the Democrats' face, and they could end up dropping it rather rapidly. But we've got 3 other investigations that nobody's paying much attention to yet. The Michael Horowitz investigation of the Department of Justice. He's the Inspector General, is about to issue a report on that.
Do we know when that's going to? Do we know when
that's
going to be the Inspector General report? It just seems to be delayed.
Yeah, well, in fact, we met with the Inspector General, a group of us on the Judiciary Committee last week, and he indicated that they have already begun writing up the report. They're doing some follow-up interviews with with witnesses that they previously interviewed, but that he expects it'll be wrapped up, well, sooner rather than later, but obviously there's no precise deadline.
Congressman, thank you very much for taking the time out of Saturday. I appreciate it, sir.
It's my pleasure, Neil. Thanks for having me.